Jerome Powell is being cast as the villain in Trump's little psychodrama on how to reform the Fed. And so Powell has to be the guy who isn't, who didn't help Trump get elected in 2024, which is a lie. And Trump knows it's a lie, but Trump doesn't give a shit. Because if Powell wanted Trump reelected, he would have started cutting interest rates in March. Because all of a sudden because Donald Trump declared that this was the case, all of a sudden everybody forgot that it takes 6 to 9 months for monetary policy to transmit through the economy. That thing they only told us for the last 35 or 40 years. Oh, no, sorry, that's not. Trump said it was this. Like, yeah, okay, whatever, dude. Like, seriously? And the worst part about it is I watch financial professionals because they hate Trump or because they want to prove me wrong about his relationship, about Powell, that I see them like throw this shit at me. I'm like, and just out in the zeitgeist, I'm like, okay. I know you need a cookie. Go get a cup of tea, sit down, have a glass of warm milk. It's okay. Orange man bad. And, and I'm a douchebag. I know, I get it. So, no, I mean, seriously, like Brandon, like it's just so ungodly stupid. Clearly, Powell held off cutting interest rates for as long as possible to make sure that the Biden economy was as bad as possible. While the Biden administration, I misspoke. The Biden junta was lying about all the labor data. Why? So that they can make the economy look better than it was. What did that do? It gave Jerome Powell all the excuses imaginable not to cut interest rates until things really got really bad. Then he cut interest rates right before the election, where it would have no effect on the election whatsoever, but it would actually help Wall Street and the banks so that there would then, at that point, it would actually ensure that there wouldn't be any kind of credit crisis between the Fed's final meeting and the election. Actually cutting interest rates, if you really think about it, ensured that there was enough liquidity to paper over any issues so that Trump could sail to victory, which is exactly what happened. And then he cut 2 more times after that, ended the year 4.5%, and said, you know what, now we're going to watch to see what Trump does. But everything Trump's doing is creating uncertainty for capital markets. Powell's still got to keep the investing class from losing their minds. So what does he do? He says, yeah, tariffs are probably going to cause inflation. The labor market's still pretty good. Then the Bureau of Labor Statistics, in order to make Trump look bad, starts heavily revising the BLS labor reports until to make which then tries to make Trump look bad because the economy's faltering 3 months into the tariff regime, and they released that, of course, after the last FOMC meeting where Powell didn't cut rates. I mean, this is the way the game is played in Washington. You have to, everything really is a game of house of cards, dude. Like, it is all that. They think in these terms. This isn't 4D chess. This is what these people are. I mean, this is what these consultants are hired to do. Like, they're everywhere. They're like shit in DC. Like, that's what they are. They're all over the place. And once you understand, like, I'm not telling anybody you don't already know. Everybody watched House of Cards or some other stupid political drama. Or they, in my case, I've watched Absolute Power with Clint Eastwood movie, Absolute Power with Gene Hackman. Great little movie, right? Like, but you learn it all. We've learned these lessons over the years. We're not stupid. Like, so all of a sudden, invoking all of that is like somehow all of a sudden that's 5D chess. Like, okay, whatever, dude. I'm sorry you were born under a bad sign. I don't know. I'm sorry your worldview was so fucking small. No, that's the way the world works. So now Powell has all the reason in the world to cut rates after Jackson Hole. So with his last 2 or 3 Fed meetings, probably going to do the exact same thing he did last year. He'll cut by 50 in September, 25, and then 25. But what Trump is really doing is setting up for a reform of the Federal Reserve, a massive reform of the Federal Reserve. He's going to take he's going to take a lot of power out of the hands of the Fed. And the Fed has too much power. The Fed has too much power. I'm not saying that, I mean, we'd all like the Fed to go away, and maybe that will happen in the future, but that's not this phase of the operation. This phase of the operation is to start doing an end run around the Fed having full control over the transmission system of new dollars. That's what stablecoins are about. And, a lot of people have commented on this, but they haven't actually even read a simple executive summary of the stablecoin bill to understand what the big deal in it is. What's the big deal? The big deal is that local banks can issue their own US dollar stablecoins against their reserve assets, meaning they're going to be lending their own token. Well, they're going to be lending against their tokens that they are able to issue relative to their local supply and demand for dollars. In effect, they're going to be setting their own interest rates locally. It's the return. It's the beginning of the return to free and local banking.
Free banking. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so friggin' obvious what's coming. That's what's coming. And, everybody who's thinking geopolitically and the BRICS and the this, and you're thinking all wrong. You've got to rebuild Main Street. The only way you rebuild Main Street, as Caitlin Long said to me the other day on the podcast, 70% of the credit that's created in the United States is created by small and medium regional banks. The small business loans is what creates credit, is what creates the credit within the system to build the economy. You have to figure out a way to give them the ability to compete with the large banks for that business. I've said this many, many, many times. As much as JP Morgan wants to quote unquote rule the world, I got news for you. They don't want to build a tire shop in Palatka. They don't want to fund that. They don't want to have some guy at a local branch do the risk analysis. That's what a local bank's for. They know the people in there. They're supposed to know the business. Yeah. They're supposed to be involved with the local chamber of commerce and know the city commissioners and know the zoning guys and know the building inspectors and who the good contractors are, who the good contractors are and everything else. JP Morgan doesn't know any of that. They don't know anything about that. The bigger problem is that our small and regional banks have been so for so long that not a damn one of them can do loan origination. Between all of the Dodd-Frank rules and everything else and the underwriting rules, it's all a friggin' nightmare to get anything done where anybody can actually get anything done. And the talent's all left. And that we don't have good loan origination. We don't have good underwriters who can literally do a P&L statement for a self-employed person like myself and go, yeah, he makes a lot of money and he has very few expenses. Give him a loan. Mm-hmm. No, they can't do that because they all have these really dumb ad libs that they got to fill in for compliance purposes. And then the numbers come up wrong and they go, but you don't make enough money. I'm like, but you're discounting 90% of my revenue because I'm not an idiot. So you're punishing me for running a tax minimization strategy for my, so I can't get a loan. Are you at it? What the hell's wrong with you? But that's the world we live in. And who created that damn Kafka's nightmare? Mm-hmm. Who wrote all those rules? The rules-based order over in Europe. Mm-hmm. They wrote all that shit into our system. And the big banks went along with it when there was no other option. Because they were barred from doing net interest margin banking. That was profitable. So then they had to be turned into friggin' hedge funds. And currency speculators. All that has to be unwound. All of it, every bit of it. All the regulations need to be rewritten. All the everything. And the stablecoin acts and the crypto acts and the stablecoin regulations and the rewriting of the bank regulation model so that these banks are not regulated by the Fed, and we get rid of the Fed, which is a political institution, whether we like it or not. And be done with it, and put the Fed back into its original box, lender of last resort in the commercial paper market, not the U.S. Treasury market, and an enforcer of the par value of the dollar for foreign central banks. It should be an Exim bank, in dollars, for lack of a better term, and nothing more.
If you like that clip, then you definitely got to check out this next spicy clip. I think you're really gonna like it. Come on, check it out. But if you want the full version, the full interview, then check that out over here. Come on, do it. I'll see you in there.